Hi everybody, this is Osprey from mychartcoach.com, and in this video we are going to take a look at the cryptocurrencies. Alright, so we're going to take a look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ripple, Ethereum, Litecoin. We're going to look at Monero and Dash. Okay, and so I'm going to split this up into two videos. And then I'm going to talk about some other altcoins in the next video that some are doing much better than the more known names. Okay, so first up, let's talk about Bitcoin. Okay, so Bitcoin is under attack. Okay, so everybody knows this. You could look at the trend here on just the linear chart, how it had a very nice upward slope going, and then they had the parabolic push, and everybody was talking about it. People, a lot of people just jumped into trading with the cryptocurrencies here, and they haven't been around the stock market and they haven't seen these types of patterns. Just know that the chart patterns, they work for commodities, for equities, for cryptocurrencies. The patterns will identify changes in trend the same, no matter what you are looking at on the chart, be it a cryptocurrency or an equity. And just pointing that out there. And so this created the very strong parabolic push, which is the Eiffel Tower type pattern. Okay, so when you get the parabolic push, and what happens is you get a strong drop when you get a push like this. You get a Fibonacci retrace, and that's what's happening right now. And so let's get into the charts. So first up, we're going to look at the Bitstamp chart, and as you can see here, it made a nice breakout above resistance back here in December. It ran up, and then it pulled back, and to me, this is looking like a head and shoulders pattern. Like you've got the left shoulder over here, and then it pushed up to the peak up here above 19,000, creating a head. It came back down and it dropped where it bounced. It found support in the 14,000 level, and then it created what looks like a right shoulder, and then came back down. And then now you have this a diagonal neckline with a break today below the neckline. So if it closes below this green line, that is going to signal downside risk, more downside risk. And also if it closes below this green high close horizontal resistance line here at about the 13,569 level, the 13.6 level, it's hard to get. Let's see right here. So 13.65, and so that's going to signal more downside risk, and you really don't have much support until you get down here to this 11,685 level, and so that's why I just put out an alert saying that 11,000s are on deck, because right now this is in a bearish downtrend. What happened is that the middle Bollinger Band, which is the solid line in the middle, that level broke right here on the 22nd of December. Okay, so if you didn't get out at the top, there was a climax. Everybody was, I'll show you the next chart where, the climax was pointed out. It did push higher and formed another climax. And then, the Coinbase chart is a little bit different than the Bitstamp chart. But what happened was if you didn't get out at the top when this doji formed and then the red candle, notice EMA4 support broke, that pink line. That was the big downside risk. It turned into resistance, okay? So that was your red flag. And then when support broke on the 22nd, middle Bollinger Band, it started a new downtrend. Notice how when it bounced off of the neckline, it came back up to the middle Bollinger Band here on the 27th and 26th, and it failed to break that level. That was a red flag. It needed to close above that 16,000 level to signal that it wanted to head higher. It did not. Okay, and so now it closed back below EMA 4 and 8 on the 28th, and that has signaled more downside risk. What it signals is the bears are in control. Okay, this chart will not heat up until this pink and green line, until there's a close above both levels. They're currently at this, right around 14,400, and so it needs to close above that level, and then it needs to come up here and get above that middle Bollinger Band at 16,000 to get a new uptrend going. Okay, so if 14,000 turns into resistance and the candles keep riding EMAs 4 and 8 resistance lower, you're going to see the 11,000s on deck. Okay, so just like over here on the left, when it was all party time for the bulls and the candles were riding this pink and green line higher, right? You want to be long. Well, once the candles start riding EMAs 4 and 8 resistance lower, you want to be short. You do not want to be long Bitcoin right now. Okay, like it's a lot of risk on the chart. right now. You know, it's signaling there's going to be reload levels lower. Okay, maybe it's going to form a bottom here at 14,000. If 14,000 turns into resistance, that's going to be a big red flag. It'll be a major red flag if it closes below 13,000, and then you're looking at really this next support level is below 12,000. Okay, so this could really retrace much lower if the bears if it continues in a downtrend. So just keep in mind it's a risk to hold anything, be it Bitcoin or Riot stock or anything, you know, be it a stock that's a Bitcoin blockchain related stock or the cryptocurrency itself. The rules apply the same on the charts. You do not want to be long if candles are riding EMA's 4 and 8 resistance lower. It's just, it's not a smart move. You're going to lose money. And so the bottom line is, you know, why not exit and then reload at a lower level? If you truly love Bitcoin, you could have sold at the top and then you could reload at the bottom with your profits and have a much larger position if you really love it that much. Why lose all this money? And so what's going on right now, and this is what we're discussing in the chat, is a lot of people are hanging in there. And it doesn't seem like there's been capitulation yet. Look down here at the bottom at the volume. There's no giant volume spikes. You know, retail is holding out right now, and so you know the question is when Bitcoin drops to a certain level, is that going to create some capitulation? Are people going to be like, okay, I just really need to lock in gains because you know I've already seen it drop from 20,000 down to 14. Now it might hit 11. Do I really want to keep riding this out, or should I just lock them in now? And maybe there's people that are waiting until New Year's to lock in gains. You know, maybe they've been up really big and they've been looking to cash in, but they didn't want to pay taxes in 2017, so they're holding out. So you could see more of a sell-off in January if the downward pressure continues, because people might be more willing to lock in those profits and then have to wait an entire year before they have to realize those gains. So that's just something to think about. These are all things that we're brainstorming. If you'd like to you know, join the conversation, come join us in our chat. But yeah, this is what we do on a Saturday. Every day we're just thinking about how can, you know, we keep taking our game to the next level and getting ahead. And cryptocurrencies trade 24/7, 7 days a week, and the weekends are usually a big time for trading. And so right now, Bitcoin Coinbase chart, this is in a very negative downtrend right now. Okay, so it peaked out. You know, we pointed out the climax spike when it happened at that the top up here. You notice how it dipped down and then it came back and it hit that level and it failed to break. That formed a double top. Okay, so it gave you two climax spikes on the Coinbase chart to lock in that near 20,000 level. And so that, you know, those 19,000s were huge. Congrats to everybody that was able to lock them in at those levels. You're a rock star. Once EMA 4 support broke, that was signaling downside risk. Notice it got below EMA 8 as well. And so it's in a bearish downtrend. If you did not sell up here, there's no reason to be long when it dropped below the middle Bollinger Band on the 21st of December. You're just asking for more, you know, like look at all the sideways action and it's heading lower. You know, like you know, you're just it's in a downtrend. The bears are in control. Once, okay, so when they started the futures trading with CBOE, it was really a head fake because it actually had a bullish reaction when it started. Everybody was afraid of the big short, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, it's gonna, you know, they're gonna short it. It's gonna be bad news." And it ended up like hanging in there and heading higher. And so it looks like they weren't really allowing shorting on Gemini when that was happening. I'm not sure the logistics of all that, but it's a very small market compared to CME. And so when CME started, you can see the chart. I mean, it's been all downhill ever since. And so those guys, you know, have been attacking hard. And that's what everybody was talking about, the big short. And I feel like now we've got a lot of Bitcoin holders that are like deer caught in headlights and they don't know what to do. They're like, what am I going to do? I missed 20,000. Some people mortgage their houses. I mean, we've heard all sorts of crazy stories. You know, once it drops lower, are we going to get to a point where people are going to be like, I have to get out because I've all my hopes and dreams are disappearing. Will it ever get to 20,000 again? I mean, these are all questions that could come up. So when it's in a downtrend, you need to think about that. Okay, so because there could be more, you know, remember your first loss is your best loss. You know, your first loss was up here at 19,000 and then your next best loss was 18,000. Now you're down here at 14,000. Your next best loss could be 11,000. who knows? If the downtrend continues, you do not want to be long. That's the reality. That's what the charts are saying. And so the bottom line is, if it stays below this 14,400 level, okay, that's going to be major downside risk. That was the close up here, and that's been big support. So it's breaking support today. You could see a drop all the way down here to this 13,767 level, and then yeah, so it's right now. Look at the lower Bollinger Band; it's pointing down. It's signaling downside risk. You don't even want to think about trying to play the bounce until it gets above EMA's 4 and 8, and a new uptrend will not begin until that middle Bollinger Band up there at 16,241 turns into support. Okay, so now let's look at XRP. Okay, so this stock here, or this currency here, is been the big winner. Okay, so it's been outperforming. Other ones have been under pressure, right? And XRP has been the big, it was big news last week. You can see the huge move that it made. It went from $1 all the way up here to 240 or something like that, 250. I mean, they have some kind of crazy market cap right now. I don't know if it's 60 billion or it's some staggering type of numbers. And so it bucked the trend. Everybody, a lot of the traders jumped into XRP. We did put out alerts down here at 47. Way down here when it was breaking out. We did alert at lower levels, actually, when it started this move. And so, yeah, and then we put out these alerts at 47, and then as you can see, it ran up all the way to 240. So congrats to everybody that's been following our charts and TA. Good job, way to trade. And yeah, I know a lot of people in the chat are rocking this out, so congrats everybody. I just want to put out a red flag warning today. This is a very bearish candlestick that's forming. Check out the long upper wick on today's candle. This signals profit taking. People are really locking in gains here. You have a spinning top. This is setting up. It doesn't look like there was a gap up open. If there was a gap up open, you could get a bearish doji. There could still be a bearish doji star if it closes what was the open. So yeah, this is so basically you have a bearish pattern forming right now with today's candle forming above the upper Bollinger Band. You could see the candles work back into the bands, and so what you want to see is this EMA4, the pink line down here at 160 hold. It needs to hold 160 on the pullback. If not, it's going to drop down to EMA 8 at 131. It could drop all the way down to 131. The chart would still be super bullish. Notice how when it gets above the upper Bollinger Band, it's worked back to EMA 8. Above the upper Bollinger Band, work back to EMA 8. Here we go again. This candle will likely be red, like these candles, and it will likely work back into the bands. It's all about the patterns. We follow the patterns, okay? So we could care less what this is. We just rock out whatever has a rocking chart, and then once it turns ugly, like today, you exit, and then you jump into the next hot thing, and then you wait for it to come back, and then once it hits EMA 8, you look to load again as long as support holds. That's what the charts are telling you. If you'd like to learn more, come check out our chat. Okay, so yeah, check out BCHUSD. Okay, so yeah, this is Bitcoin Cash. Okay, so it's making the nasty move today, everybody. This is not good. It's dropping below the middle Bollinger Band. Okay, so that's the middle line right here. This is not what bulls want to see. It could still, the day is young. It could still close above that level, but currently that middle Bollinger Band, it looks like it's at about 2,351. It needs to close above that level. If you see it close below, this could signal the start of a new downtrend. Currently it's been a retrace. All right, so it closed above the upper Bollinger Band up here, just like I was showing you on the last chart. Notice how the red candle formed and the candles worked back into the bands. Once they worked back into the bands, they came back down to this middle Bollinger Band, and they're trying to hold that level. That's the uptrend level, which it could still do, but it has to hold that level. If it does, and then it pushes higher, this would be the reload level. But if it breaks, it's a very risky level, because if it breaks, it could be the start of a new downtrend. So keep an eye on it. If support holds here, this is where it could bounce. If it doesn't, it looks like it wants to close below. It spent the last 3 days trying to hold this level, and if there's finally a close below, that could be the red flag that signals that it wants to head lower. And then you could see a drop down to 21.51. That's the closing price here on the 18th. That would be the next support level in the opening here. And if those levels break, the downside risk is it drops down to the 19s, down here to 1950, which was a prior resistance level. So Bitcoin Cash is breaking down, and then we have Ethereum here, and so Ethereum has a very similar pattern. This is previous annotations. This is when we called the breakout back here on the 11th. It was forming this sideways channel here, and then it closed above descending resistance and horizontal resistance, and then notice how it made that giant run afterwards. Well, it peaked out, and this has that similar, like like the little shoulder, the head, maybe a little right shoulder here. It could be a stretch, but it's the same type of pattern where it peaked, it came back, and it's making a lower high. And so when you have the lower highs going, it's signaling downside risk. It needs to break the pattern. It has to hold the middle Bollinger Band here, so you can see where it has a downtrend going right now, and so if it can hold that middle Bollinger Band currently being tested at over here at what is that at right here at 703, that level that the candle body's holding right now, then it can keep this uptrend going. It has to break above the red descending resistance line, close above that level and above EMA's 4 and 8. That's the pink and lime lines. Notice how it's below both levels right now. Notice how the EMA 4 crossed below, EMA 8 it crossed back above, and now it looks like it wants to cross back below. That's it's having a hard time right here. It's winding tight. It has to, something's going to break. It's either going to break support or it's going to break resistance. And so, yeah, if it breaks below that middle Bollinger Band, that could be the signal that it wants to head lower. And you could see a pullback down here to this 620 level. So down here you have so basically what you have is the middle Bollinger Band here. If that breaks, then you have support, which was the close at 670. That would be the next support level. Notice how the lower wick is bouncing off of that level today. And then if it closed below that, then you have the closing price down here around 620 on the 12th, because the lower Bollinger Band's way down here at 575. So we have to keep an eye on Ethereum here. If it closes below the middle Bollinger Band and it turns into resistance, this could signal the start of a new downtrend. If that level holds, this is where it could bounce. Now this is what I'm talking about on what could happen to Ethereum. Now look at this last chart. Okay, so notice that it's hitting this line, this solid line. It's trying to bounce off of that level. Now look what happens. This is why I'm trying to warn everybody, because it did that right here. This is what Ethereum's doing right now, this candle. And then look what happened afterwards. Downside risk. It went from being at 265 to hitting down to 200. Most people don't want to hold for that kind of drop. Most people, these are just trading vehicles. They're just trying to trade here. And so if you're trying to trade, you have to take caution when there's a strong downtrend. And notice how Litecoin has been failing to get above EMA 4. It's been riding that pink line lower. So right now it's bouncing off of support from the 11th. Okay, so that this 208 support level, if it breaks below that, you could see a drop all the way down to 148. That is the downside risk. That's the problem with parabolic moves, is the pullbacks are nasty if you're long. If you're short and you're rocking it out with CME, then you guys are having a field day. It's a happy new year. But for everybody else that's not an accredited investor, it's pain and suffering if you're long. So that's why you have to head to the sidelines when the chart breaks down, and then you can reload lower. That's the name of the game. It's not just ride away all your profits. It's exit at the top and then play the bounce. And then, yeah. So right now we have Monero. It had that beautiful uptrend going. I mean, look at the tight Bollinger Bands over here in November. They can't get any tighter. And then they broke out and they just had this awesome, multi-week run. And then it peaked out over here on the 20th of December. You had that bearish Harami reversal pattern formed, and then that nasty drop. And I did the video on that and showed everybody the big long lower wick and all that kind of stuff. That was the cryptocurrency video I put out. Just happened to be filming at that time. It was like around midnight, 12:30 Pacific Standard Time, and I just had the camera rolling, and so that was filmed. And so notice that after that bounce, it got back above EMA's 4 and 8, but it's failed to stay above. And notice how it was riding the middle Bollinger Band higher. Okay, so that had been acting as an ascending support line. So you had this support line going right here, and so it was riding support higher, but notice today it broke. So this is not what bulls want to see. This is not good. This is signaling downside risk. Right now, it's hitting the support here. It's hitting the horizontal support from this close from the video that I just mentioned at 315, and so it needs to hold 315. If it closes below 315, the downside risk is it retraces back down to that lower Bollinger Band, because remember the lower Bollinger Band is the bottom of the bearish lower Bollinger Band channel, and the upper Bollinger Band is the top of the bullish upper Bollinger Band channel. So these could be doing a retrace from the upper Bollinger Band back down to the lower. And if the middle Bollinger Band breaks, which is happening today. So today Monero is breaking middle Bollinger Band support. It is breaking ascending support. It is breaking below EMAs 4 and 8. It is signaling downside risk. A possibility that 250s could be on deck. Okay, let's look at Dash. Okay, Dash, D-A-S-H. This will be the last video in this last chart in this video, and this is the last cryptocurrency I'll be looking at. And so this has the breakdown as well. Notice it had a similar pattern to Monero. It was kind of, they were following the same type of pattern. Super tight Bollinger Bands in November. This is exactly what you want to see in the breakout above. You know, that signaled the ride. You know, it came back, it hit the middle Bollinger Band in December and held support, and then you know it made the huge breakout up here to you know 1600 almost, and then it's pulled back, and so now it's dropping below that middle Bollinger Band. Notice how the middle Bollinger Band held in the beginning of December. Okay, this is very bearish. Okay, look at all the wicks that hit that middle Bollinger Band and it held. It's currently in a strong downtrend. Okay, so this is, you know, it's been you know, heavily attacked since the top, and so you have this you know, this is being attacked very heavy right now. This is not being you know, they've got a major short attack on these cryptocurrencies right now, and you just have to keep in mind that these are behaving now more like equities, where you have two sides of the market, where you have people that can go long and people that can go short. Before it was just pretty much go long or sell, and so now this is behaving like more like equities. You know, it's behaving more like a stock would behave, where people could short it, and so these are being attacked. And so right now, you know, it's not gonna, they're not gonna go up until the people with the big money who are creating this downtrend, until they flip the switch and say it's time to party and it's uptrend time. And so until they flip the switch and start buying, it's going to be downside risk. Okay, so for stocks that are breaking the middle Bollinger Band. So just follow the charts. If the middle Bollinger Band turns into resistance, a possible new downtrend could begin. You could see a drop down here into the 700s if this resistance level at 880 breaks. Okay, so yeah, so it's really important it stays above 900 here and gets back above the middle Bollinger Band. Okay, in the next video I will post I'll discuss some more of the altcoins. Okay, so thank you very much for viewing this video. Happy New Year, everybody.